got a lot of frozen water on my sidewalk, but that's not our topic for today.
Yeah, no, different, wrong ice. And then the Walz wrote an executive order banning assault rifles or whatever it is that some far-leaning leftist would think is an assault rifle, which is probably wrong, but he doesn't care.
I mean, we just put the language in there just to make it sound good.
Yeah.
That's.
I'd like to see it. I haven't got to read this quite yet, and I've just barely seen some reaction. And obviously, the proper reaction is come and get it. Like, let's.
Yeah.
I think the funniest thing, and maybe I should comment on it later or now. It doesn't matter. But the thing that I saw was that the Minnesota DFL posted in response to the executive order saying. No, I'm sorry. This wasn't the executive order on guns. It was the new law for Hyundai.
The Kia thing, the Keith Ellison thing. Hyundai that's so good. So dumb.
It's funny because the Minnesota DFL says, "Oh, we're stopping crime before it happens," and I was like, "Oh, you guys have no room to talk." That's
that one wasn't even on our list of things, and that's really a dumb one to bring up.
I thought it was the gun thing for a second, but it was the Kia Hyundai settlement.
Joey, do you got anything? Do we have words on this?
So the executive order is actually two. 25-12 is entitled "Taking Steps to Reduce Gun Violence in Minnesota." And 25-13 is entitled "Establishing the Governor's Statewide Safety Council." So we're adding more committees. We're adding more bureaucracy because
more bureaucracy. We have a safety council now.
Yes, we have a.
Does anybody on the safety council own a gun?
Yeah. In order to make every effort to prevent mass violence, targeted attacks, and domestic terrorism, the Governor's Statewide Safety Council is established. Objectives are to develop an immediate action plan to prevent mass violence, targeted attacks, and domestic terrorism, recommend strategies to combat radicalization. This sounds like every stereotypical boilerplate anti-terrorism task force, but it's being created under the shadow of this is about protecting Minnesotans from gun violence.
Doing something. We're doing something.
Yes, we're doing something.
Recommending and taking steps and all this fizzle speak.
We're making recommendations. We're having monthly meetings. We're addressing the intersections of mental health and gun violence. That one's fascinating because I want to see how they spin the large proportion of gun violence that is actually suicides in a way that makes it sound like guns are the problem, because if one looks closely at that, it shows that guns are not the problem, that there's a mental health epidemic in this country, and that's actually the problem.
Yeah. Oh, and let's not ever mention the SSRIs that everybody's been prescribed for the last 2 generations. And anything we've actually we've had whole episodes on that before. So
fully 5 of these 7 or 8 things that this committee is doing is making recommendations, submitting reports, and having meetings.
Submitting reports and having meetings in their own little government bubble.
Yes, in their own little government bubble, where the only people that they let speak are the people that they hand choose. Yes.
And ultimately,
that was going to be my question. Are these meeting minutes public record?
That's a fascinating question. Oh, the members are listed. The commissioners of the following agencies or their designees: Department of Public Safety, Department of Children, Youth and Families, Department of Education, Department of Health, Department of Human Services, the Chief Justice of the Minnesota Supreme Court or their designee, the Superintendent of the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension or their designee follows most of these. So this is a bunch of people who have been delegated the authority to act like they're the heads of the departments, who can't be bothered to show up to this because they're too busy doing other bureaucratic nonsense.
Well, because they know that this is just all fluff.
Yeah, the AG or their designee, the Colonel of the Minnesota State Patrol or their designee, one representative from the Minnesota Chief of Police Association, one representative from the Minnesota Sheriff's Association. I feel kind of bad for those guys. They'll be the only ones in the room who've actually done anything.
And this is the committee you're talking about. That it's
yeah, this is the committee whose job is to make recommendations, make reports, and have meetings.
So really,
the Sheriff's Committee in Minnesota is a very far left leaning organization in itself. That's
the
just,
Sheriff's Association. I would expect that of the Chiefs of Police Association. I'm a little surprised.
Is there such thing as a?
Is this a not every sheriff is a member of the association thing? Like it's called the Sheriff's Association.
But it's a bureaucratic. It's a bureaucratic think association. Is there no such thing as a non-far left bureaucratic association?
So the conclusions that they're going to come to, regardless of what the method is that the solution to addressing gun violence is to remove the guns. Really, what they're going to do is they're going to work together and try to strategize how that would even be possible. And then
it's all about data, I think.
What?
I think they're just really, this thing is about gathering data. As one thing I saw about it is, opening doors to in the name of safety, whatever.
Yeah, well, data is the new oil. I'm sorry to tell you, data is the new oil. Everything.
Nerds.
It is what it is. So, and that's why I say, look, if we're going to have these bureaucratic institutions, they have to be public. Everything
transparent and open source,
and traversable through public access.
Yeah, we need to clip that for sure. I absolutely agree that there's no reason any of this stuff needs to be redacted or behind closed doors or anything.
Right.
And the way we can have data open, the dang Capitol website or the government websites need to have all this stuff.
It doesn't make any sense. If they can actually have this conversation in a closed door room, why can't they have the conversation in public?
Right. They're public servants.
It's not about keeping the public informed.
Well, and hey, that's Rebecca. That's why I'm running for state auditor.
What they want is an ignorant society that doesn't know what's going on, while they go into these back room, closed doors kinds of meetings, and then work together at the expense of us. That's what they're doing, and that's all this is. This is just a formality that he's even letting people know, like, we're going to do something about gun violence, because Walz is still trying to prop himself up for the next best political thing.
Yeah.
And he's running for governor next election cycle, right? He's catering to his base. That's all this is.
All right. So we've been through 25-13. Now 25-12 is the one that actually does something.
Oh, all right.
In paragraph 3, he brags about how Minnesotans are ready for more gun control because of this study that he's citing, showing 69% of Minnesotans support assault weapons bans and 79% in the suburbs. In the next paragraph, he brags about how awesome the ERPO system is. That's the 2024 passed legislation that gives Minnesota red flag laws. So that's nice. Bragging about how awesome red flag laws are. And then more stats on gun control and more stats on gun violence. You know what they say: lies, damned lies, and statistics. This is
what's great?
Framed to support his position, of course.
The right-leaning Republicans, the Minnesota Republicans, are going to, rightfully so, be against this kind of stuff. But the kind of stuff that when we were looking at the ICE things that are going on here in Minnesota, the way they're cheerleading that shit, and the feds just invading our freaking state and acting like they got free reign over stuff. And it's like, hey, there's a reason that there's something happening, and I voted for this, whatever bullshit. Sorry, meant to not swear on these things. But anyway,
it wasn't within the first 30 seconds. We're probably okay. Just limit it to one per. Let's try for
it's a heck of a distinction, and it's one of those things that libertarians have been more forever. It's like you just wait. You're cheering on these feds at this, and you know, when the lefties call them Gestapo and stuff, it's like, man, that's a lot of what's going on. I see. I don't know what the heck to believe anymore on the internet, but man, there's a lot of, I think, good reporters in Minnesota right now. And again, Minnesota's in the headlines of all national freaking news.
Every week we're in the headlines.
Yeah, and I think it's tee up to switch topics, but I want to stick on this one for just a minute longer.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Actions by state agencies. This is in the actual order part of the EO rather than the press release part. All state agencies must pursue opportunities and coordinate with each other to protect Minnesotans, particularly minors and vulnerable adults, from gun violence to the fullest extent of their authority. So this is a mandate for every state agency to intentionally go out of their way to work with other state agencies to create a web to try to affect gun violence stats.
To protect people. I mean, like, law enforcement is about response, not protection. Like, that's not the job of law enforcement isn't to protect. It's to respond when something has already happened.
Well, that's what we know.
Yeah, but the ERPO, the next section, extreme risk protection order, promotion and best practices. To promote and improve the effective implementation of Minnesota's red flag laws, DPS will, by April 1st of 2026, develop guidance documents to describe ERPO laws and processes, including a checklist of best practices to share with law enforcement agencies and prosecutors. DPS will consult with law enforcement agencies, blah, 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 in best practices guidance.
I think that's what I want to know. I want to know what you can say they have to do what they can to work with other agencies, blah, blah, blah. I want to see the actual plans. I want to see the process, and I want to see the documentation to say, this is how we are going to work with this agency. This is how we are going to work with this agency. This is within our parameters. This is not.
Charlie, there's actually a little bit of transparency going on in here, because 3.2, by February 1st, 2026, publish on its website on a monthly basis the following public data regarding ERPOs. 1, the number of ERPO petitions filed in each county in the state. 2, the number of petitions granted in each county in the state. And 3, the number of petitions denied. So all three numbers by county, by month, should be available on a government website.
On their county website, right? On each county's website.
Minnesota DPS.
Minnesota DPS, okay. Department of Public Safety, is that it?
Yeah. So on a state website, not county websites. So that you shouldn't have to go to a different website to check neighboring counties.
I guess what I heard when you said that all these state agencies must do what they can through the authority that they've been granted to ensure the safety of children or whatever it said there. You know what I mean?
Minors and vulnerable adults.
Yeah. So think of like CPS, man, and all this other crap that it's like guys that are been carrying their whole life and never got any permit, and then all of a sudden,
somebody
social worker sees them,
saw them just outside the boundary of where it would actually be a crime carrying.
Yeah.
And now they're suspected of being a gun owner, so CPS raids their house to make sure they're not abusing their kids. Finds guns, says, we found guns and kids in the same house. This is a risk to minors.
Bam. Yep. Man, you just took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I was thinking, and that's unreal. That
that were at the play. What was that movie where like they had the people that that could predict crimes and they'd go? Wasn't it
Minority Report?
Yes.
Yeah, Minority Report. That's exactly where this is going. The only way you can protect people from gun violence is by preemptively taking away the guns.
And then more safety culture BS where we bubble wrap everything and then we wonder why people like cramp a muscle in their arm when they go to lift a gallon of milk. It's because we don't have a society that allows people to actually do things because we're afraid of people hurting themselves.
Yeah, we should. When
I gotta look at the chat. Is it just TC? Is that?
Yeah,
no,
he's
Nick is on here too.
All right.
Was that
promotion of safe storage of firearms? By March 1st, DPS will develop and provide to MDE, I don't actually know what that agency is, an informational notice regarding best practices for the safe storage of firearms that includes an overview of Minnesota laws that address firearm storage, a description of different means.
Did you say MDE?
FAQs, guidance on where to obtain gun locks and safes. Okay.
Did you say MDE?
Mike Delta Echo. I do not know what it stands for.
Minnesota Department of Education.
Oh, okay. That would make sense.
great.
By May 1st, so 2 months after the first one.
Wait a second. Why are they involving the Department of Education?
Come on, the vulnerable kids.
Got a half dozen things they want the Department of Education to do with that information once it's been provided to them. That's what I was about to read. Post the informational notice developed under paragraph. Post this information on the Department of Education's website in English, Spanish, Hmong, and Somali. Provide digital copies to the board of every school district, the board of every charter school, and the governing body of every non-public school in Minnesota. Instructs the governing bodies of each of these schools to post links on their websites and instruct the governing body of each of these school districts to distribute the information to the parent or legal guardian of every student enrolled at the school electronically or by U.S. mail. So every school board and every student's parents or guardians is to be provided with this information on how to use guns safely according to Minnesota state law, according to the Department of Public Safety.
And so the result is if they find you with guns that are not stored safely.
Yeah, you can't say, "Oh, I didn't know," and then we're like, "Oh no, everybody knows," because we made sure that everybody knows.
What is their response going to be?
That's not listed here. One can assume. Department of Commerce data call. Minnesota Department of Commerce will, by February 1st, use its authority under Minnesota Statutes 2025, blah, 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 to issue a data call requesting all insurance companies to write homeowners insurance in Minnesota to submit detailed policy and claims data involving firearms. By October, prepare and present a report to the governor and relevant state agencies summarizing the requested data and providing recommendations of potential changes to the law. So they're having insurance companies report everything to the centralized government authority that is going to collate all of that data and decide how badly they want to further infringe on our rights as a result of the data that the insurance companies gave them.
So my recommendation with all of this is
lost your guns in a boating accident.
But if you report that, that's a claim on your insurance. And that means that the state now knows that you had guns to lose.
You would have to.
It's a term. I'd say just don't even start it. Don't put any of that shit on a list.
Yeah. So in us country folk, right? There's you employ the 3 S's.
Shoot, shovel, shut up.
And shut up. So just work on being gray. That's really what this is. Just work on being gray.
It is a fact that if an insurance company does not know about something, they will never pay out for it. It is also a fact that if an insurance company does not know something, they cannot report it to the government.
Right.
True.
So this is where we're at.
Think
if
about
you're
which
a gun
side of
owner,
that you want to
which
be
I'm
on.
not saying I'm a gun owner. This is, and I would recommend none of you be like, oh, like just don't like announce yourself. Keep them guessing. Keep them guessing.
Yeah, well, because
That's
it's
where
going to
we're
be
at.
amazing once they AI compile all this data and think, oh my gosh, there's a lot less guns than we thought, and then they like, oh nope, surprise.
Well,
anyways,
that's the thing, is it does come down to data. And
I think most
the reality is that 50 years from now, when they're relying on these things that have held up in the past, right? It's going to be the labeling of who is, who is the terrorist, or who is the threat against our civility or our democracy or what
I
have
think
you.
Is Nick commenting
all
from the
set up.
LPM End Zone account, by the way?
What's that?
I think that Nick's chat posts are from LPMN.
Oh,
yeah.
They are.
Well, the thing is I think most gun owners, even the ones that aren't even as libertarian as we are common sense enough to not.
Well,
Not
yeah,
go running
no,
their
I
mouth.
get that. But at the same time, like these are things that are getting put in place that are going to affect us 20 years from now.
Yep. Red flag laws are
Most-
probably
That's been going on in the background in the LPMN because of one of our other members who's been really paying attention a lot to this and has been talking a lot about it. But flock cameras are being employed all over the state. And if you don't know what flock cameras are, they're AI-driven data collection cameras that are, the data is just, and it's being used to preemptively try to figure out who's committing crimes and who's doing what and where who's the
it
threat.
is using license plates to identify networks of connected individuals.
And we've already seen access to this data that is not authorized.
Because and so I saw a video of a police officer. It was a body cam of a police officer that pulled over a teacher on his way to school because the flock cameras told him, and it just popped up on his screen, that license plate right there in front of you is reported stolen from a stolen car. And so they pulled the guy over, put him in handcuffs, put him in the back of a cop car, and the teacher was a black guy. I mean, so imagine like, after everything that's going on, they, and they're like, hey, you're driving a stolen car. And he's like, and you see it on the body cam. He's like, this is my car. It's not reported stolen. This is my car. And what it ended up being was bad data from the flock cameras, and the police officer not following up using any of his other methods to know if that vehicle was actually stolen or not, just taking the word of the flock camera, and then going through the whole process of pulling him over, putting him in handcuffs, sticking him in the back of a cop car before they realized, and then other cops showing up, and then realizing, oh shoot, we've made a mistake.
All because AI cameras can't tell the difference between an O and a 0 or a 1 and an I or something like that. And the officer doesn't bother to check.
Right. Because, I mean, there should be a level of human error in law enforcement. There absolutely should. Because we shouldn't be living in a police state. We don't live under an authoritarian regime. But this is where this goes. This is the method on how we get to an authoritarian regime.
Well, I think we're quite there. Tell this all to Edward Snowden. And all this data has already been harvested for 20 years now.
Well, you
And
might as well just like be who you are, because you can't hide.
yeah,
And the greatest power that we have is to be as bold and loud and as true about it as possible. That's the power that we have left, because they've put you in a point where they have everything about you. So, the victors always write the history books. You got to decide, who do you want to be to history? Do you want to be the oppressed, or do you want to be the victor? I don't, I'm personally in all of this, don't be a soft target.
Well, I think the way I see this is, we know the government has a ton of information on us. We don't know how much they know. That's my
sometimes
problem.
it's wrong, and it's
and because we hide it behind a bureaucracy. The bureaucratic process protects the information that the government gathers of the citizens. That's what it is. And then they throw stats out there, and then they're going to be like, "Oh, we're protecting you." No, you're not.
Have you ever seen the TV show Loki?
I have not watched Loki.
Have any of you two ever watched the series Loki?
Oh yeah, I've watched the whole thing.
The first episode where he gets sucked into the portal.
Yeah.
And he's in that, and all of a sudden he's stuck in a state of bureaucracy. And he's like, I'm a god. And then they're like, push the button, and, they're like, sign here or something. And
there's the record of everything he's ever said throughout his entire life. And then he says something else in response to that. And then a new page drops and he has to sign again.
Right. Yeah, that's what this.
Oh, I see in the chat. I don't know who Bulgarweed is, but you're right. We should be able to request that data and in a legal way to challenge it. But that's kind of what I mean. The way I see this, I've talked. God, I'm gonna get on a rant. Sorry, guys.
Let her rip.
I've talked at Pints and Politics 2 weeks ago up in Blaine. I talked down in Austin, Minnesota with Steve Patterson and JT down there for their governor and lieutenant governor campaign. The biggest thing that I see moving forward, and it has to start here in Minnesota, just because we are in the news every week with something new coming up, and there's things that are being uncovered. We have to be the focal point of transparency in this state. We have to bring transparency as a movement. This is not. It can no longer be a political volleyball, right? You can't just keep tossing transparency over the net and see who catches it. It doesn't work anymore. So we have to start a movement, and it's going to take time to see the benefits of it, right? That's why I said a couple of years ago when I was talking at the convention, I said it's a long-term approach. It's a 10 to 15-year approach of exposing people, making sure the data at the lowest, most granular level is exposed and available in a new manner, right? Technology's moved so fast over the past 10 years that we need to modernize the accessibility of our data. And it's going to take a long time. It's going to take time for people to adjust. It's going to take time for people to pay attention and understand what they're seeing, right? So when it starts with financial data, it's going to take time for people to understand what a P&L looks like, or a balance sheet, or understand what the key performance indicators of each of our municipalities is, right? And that way we can make better informed decisions. This is how businesses operate. There's no reason we can't operate our government in the same manner. We hold the power to put those people in place, and we should be electing people at those levels that are searching for a better way, more transparent way. So
I
buddy.
see some of the challenges that we're going to have to overcome for that is that the majority of the voting base does not care to be properly informed, factually informed.
Yeah.
That's
man, I was just thinking about this today. The critical thinking is just gone, and here's what you're fed. Yes, Messa. I don't know.
Well, you go and look on any post on social media about the Venezuela stuff and the emergence of a new war, and you very quickly you can determine the demographic that a person belongs to by their response, right? So there's these certain things in all groups of people, and I think that there's an awareness you have to have about, where your biases lay, so that you can know, be able to recognize that with yourself and make sure that you are actually still pursuing truth and transparency, because there's a lot of people that they just want to be told what to do, and they're fine with that. And I get it.
I can understand that. I can understand that.
Yeah. Because you exist under a fatigue, like this constant state of fatigue, when all of this stuff is always coming at you from every direction all the time, right?
But that's why I say this is a movement. This is not an overnight thing. So in order to change the behavior of people who are, what's the term I'm looking for? Just disassociated from politics. They don't want to be involved. They don't want to care about the things that matter until it matters to them.
Right.
The thing is, you have to show them that it matters. And
I think it would be quicker if we got exposing some people. I think folks are thirsty for that kind of stuff right now.
I think it depends on who it's going to hurt. It depends on who it's going to hurt.
That's my point, right? That's my point, is what you're going to get. And again, I'm going to talk about this because I've met candidates on the path. Everybody in this next race coming up this year is going to be talking about fraud. They're going to be addressing the issue of fraud, but none of them have a plan to combat it. Ask one candidate what they will do about fraud.
Transparency. It's very easy. Just get it out in the open.
No, they don't. They won't.
I don't think it's that easy, though, because it's so central to how the system operates at this point that it is such an intricate part of what everything is that people don't know how to take it out. And also because it's like the complexities of it. Are you have to who would be left?
Okay,
that's my.
Well,
this is what people would.
This is where
I have the plan. What's that? You broke up a little bit. Sorry.
Wait, who did? I did?
I barely caught. Yeah, but I got about one every eighth of a second when you were going on that rant there a little bit. But it was, I think I got the gist of it. But I think, well, now I lost my train of thought thinking about it.
I'll take over. Basically, what I'm saying is, I get it. It's ingrained in our system, and it's going to take a long time to unwind. And I don't think anybody that is running for office at this point has a future plan that is going to affect anything moving forward regarding this issue. It's going to be part of the system.
Well, and so now I remember.
Except for exposing the data, being transparent, and I can't trust a how do I put this? A DFL representative right now, and I can't trust a GOP candidate. The problem is the problem is that I see is exactly what you were pointing out, TJ. They are chomping at the bit to go after this issue, and it's not a resolution problem for them. It's a power issue for them. They see this as a weakness, and they rightly should. But they are not approaching this from a solutionary aspect. They're approaching this from a let's dig deeper, let's gain traction. Let's pull people from the left, let's pull people from the middle, let's gain notoriety, and let's boost our profile. This is there is no solution in their platforms.
But that's because that solution was never going to be a thing.
That's the uniparty. That's where we have this opportunity to be the referee in this dumb
Right.
back and forth of their right and left, that they're actually the same bird kind of thing.
It always comes down to that this entire game, this entire political theater is only about the illusion of choice.
Well,
they don't want solutions.
That's what I'm saying is we have a solution. We can do, it's not impossible. I do this on a daily basis with businesses. I bring disparate sources together in a centralized data warehouse and publish reports on them. That's essentially what we're doing. We can take financial data, batch process it into a data warehouse, and expose it to APIs so that anybody with a freaking Excel spreadsheet or Power BI or Tableau or what have you could bring data down and build a simple analytical solution. And then we start training, then we can train our own LLMs or GPTs on specific data that pertains to financial transactions. And then any citizen could interface with it as a natural language processing model and ask it simple questions and say, what did my city spend on X last month?
Or
what did the city spend on flock cameras last month?
Yeah, exactly. Or how much revenue did our year over year increase? Like, we could set KPIs, we could start to gauge our municipalities in a better way.
So we want to shift gears. Our guest is commenting quite a bit.
Yeah, I want to touch base on Venezuela stuff for a minute. Because,
I'm into that.
I said, did you send
a minute ago?
I texted you guys the results of the vote for the Venezuela War Powers Resolution or whatever it was called. Did you see it?
Right.
Yeah. Was it 213 to 211 or something like that?
What?
Like 213, 211 yay, 213 nay?
Yeah, but look, there's a couple of numbers there, and I don't have it pulled up because I'm on my phone, and if I leave the current screen I'm on to go look at it, I'm going to disconnect myself. But look at the numbers that crossed over specifically. So we had one Democrat vote with the Republicans for keeping the president's
for the
war
nay.
power. Right. And then there were 3 Republicans that voted with the Democrats. Okay. Additionally, I think there were 9 people total who just didn't show up or vote, or if they were there, they didn't vote. It ended up being 211 to 213, right? Or something like that.
That's what I thought I saw.
Okay.
Yeah, so each side of those no votes could have swayed the vote.
Yeah, I don't think that. What they were voting on was to limit the President Trump's abilities to declare war in Venezuela without going through Congress. Like, this was going to essentially tie his hands and make it harder, and it failed. So the Republicans largely, for the most part, voted to keep the war powers in the hands of the president and out of the hands of Congress, like the Constitution says, where it should be. And the Democrats, my interpretation of it is if it had been Democrats being a president, that they would have voted with the president to keep the war powers with the president. But because it's Trump,
that's a great point.
Yeah, but because it's Trump, they voted against Trump, except for one. Now, if all of the Democrats had shown up and voted, this very likely would have passed. But I don't believe that the Democrats actually want to limit the war in Venezuela. I think that secretly and kind of behind scenes, that they actually agree on this, that going to war with Venezuela is a good thing, and that they support doing this, but they need to keep up the political theater.
Yeah, I think that they think their donors see invading Venezuela as profitable because
Yeah, when you
if,
say
like
if
this.
their 4 people that didn't vote had voted with party lines with the Democrats, this would have passed, and it would have kept Trump from being able to declare war in Venezuela. But conveniently enough, this appears on the surface as though that the Democrats are voting against the war in Venezuela, except that all they needed was a few of their people to show up and to vote for them. So if it was really that important to them, wouldn't have they insisted that all of their people vote, right?
Uh-huh.
yeah, of course, it's obviously a show. This is the thing is it's so obvious.
I'm assuming Massey was a
Massey and probably Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
And then the third person off the top of my head, I don't know if somebody could Google that, who the third Republican was that voted against it. I'd actually be curious as to who the Democrat was that voted for it too. And I'm assuming that all of our Minnesota representatives voted party lines.
Yeah, that's standard.
I think we might be confusing when we say for or against, right?
Yeah,
so
I was thinking
the nays won it. The nay won it. So the bill was supposed to be for
to restrict Trump's power.
Restrict,
right?
But what is what are the powers that we're restricting right now? The AUMF that Congress.
I don't.
Well, I think that's it. Like Trump hasn't declared war. He's taking actions that are against what he considers a terrorist organization or a.
Well, Congress declares war.
Civilian oil tankers.
Yeah, but presidents in the past have gone through all of the process of declaring war.
Yeah.
While dancing around actually declaring war, but it's still a war in every sense of the word.
Right. And I think that's the thing is like because he doesn't recognize Maduro as the president of Venezuela,
which is just a bizarre thing to say.
Because he considered like everything you read will say the Maduro regime, right? He doesn't recognize it as a government.
Okay, so like I said, I'm on my phone. I can't pull things up on my screen right now, but can you guys go to Tucker Carlson's Twitter account, his Twitter feed right now?
Oh.
And
I could. Where did I was sharing something and now I'm not.
Sorry.
Okay, go to Tucker Carlson's page on Twitter.
All right. Sorry,
because something very, very interesting popped up, and I want to draw attention to it because I believe that over time we will see this go full circle, right? Okay. Keep scrolling down. I'll tell you when you get there.
You didn't go to Tucker's page.
No, I didn't go to Tucker's page.
You clicked on his. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, now scroll down. Keep going. That one right there. Read that document on the left.
Israel. So this is like Israeli.
So it's Iran and Russia. Iran and Russia in Venezuela.
So this is an Israel vendetta against the current and former regimes in Venezuela.
Because the central banks in Venezuela.
There you go. I was waiting for that.
They're not under the powers of the United States, the European Union. They're completely and totally separate. And that the United States has had problems with Venezuela in the past. Venezuela has the largest oil reserve in the world, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? And so also they control their own banks. And that's made, Trump's not the first president that's had problems with Venezuela, because Venezuela doesn't fall under control of the United States, like not even like shadow government, you know. And that's
right. And we can't tie them to the dollar. We can't make sure that they use the reserve currency of the world.
Right. But fentanyl bad, okay? They're speedboating Caribbean all the way across the Caribbean.
Can we just say that? Make sure that like the podcast, anybody watching this, fentanyl comes from China.
Yeah.
Fentanyl comes from China.
Comes from Nate next door. Nate's next door neighbor.
It comes from China and it goes to the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. And then from Mexico, it moves back up into the United States.
Whatever, isn't it? Can't you just make it too with whatever? Just like you can make. I think people are just cooking that shit up. I don't know. Whatever the case,
we can't buy Sudafed over the counter anymore. We have to go
right.
Talk to
that kind of stuff. Who knows, man? All the fear mongering stuff, like we were talking about before. I just don't. I don't see the reason we need to declare war on this dang drug. Like, oh yeah, that's weapon of mass destruction. So the hospitals are now terrorists because they issue that stuff all the time, right? Did we already talk about? We were talking about this before we were
before.
Yeah, I feel like we're just repeating something, but
no, yeah, because fentanyl is prescribed by all hospitals as a way of pain management, you know, like morphine. And so by the fentanyl now being a weapon of mass destruction, does that make every hospital in the United States a terrorist organization?
Right.
I'd have to see how he declared it.
Oh, you want to see how he declared it?
I think he said, illicit fentanyl.
Yes, illicit fentanyl is closer to a chemical weapon than a narcotic, which is factually untrue because whether it is a chemical weapon or not, it is absolutely a narcotic.
But this is the funny thing, though. The manufacture and distribution of fentanyl primarily performed by organized criminal networks called pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah,
these are national. Like, fentanyl is distributed by pharmaceutical companies. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's
man.
Been in use for a long time in a clinical setting.
It's a whole different problem that, you know.
Don't worry, the FDA knows what's best for you. You don't
take away the guns because people are killing people with guns. Take away the drugs because people are killing themselves with the drugs. It's not the problem. Just.
But see, this is the BS language again in here, right? This is what the right does as well. Shall take appropriate action to implement this order and eliminate the threat. It's like shall immediately pursue investigations.
Determine.
Yeah, like what have they been doing before? They haven't been doing that?
So just by using ambiguous language, that gives them powers ultimately in the future to do whatever they want to and do it justified.
Right.
So in Section 3 definitions, illicit fentanyl means literally not the stuff that is distributed by pharmaceutical companies, but everything else.
Right.
So now, just like the OxyContin market, it's okay. So now we're just going to have the patches that are literally stolen from hospitals or whatever supply that they get them from.
Yeah, it's core precursor chemicals. So basically, unless you're a pharmaceutical company, you can't possess this stuff anymore.
Well,
bans never work.
Right? I mean, like, wasn't fentanyl already illegal?
Yeah, it was already a Schedule I narcotic.
I mean, so...
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that this is the Controlled Substances Act. Like, because it's on the Controlled Substances Act, that's what all of this stuff derives its authority from. Is because it's illegal, by order of the president, all the federal agencies should investigate the illegal activity.
God, this is so dumb.
Either it does nothing, or it makes every instance of someone other than a pharmaceutical company possessing it into terrorism. And whether it's one or the other is sort of left ambiguous, kind of on purpose, I would assume.
Well, I think all this is just to get the MAGA idiots that are going along with this war to think, yeah, I got WMDs, just even though the fentanyl's not coming from Venezuela, but a lot of people think it is. They killed hundreds of millions of Americans last year from fentanyl. They killed hundreds of thousands. No, that was hundreds of millions. They just never come up with the right number.
Yeah, 48,000 or whatever is the number I saw last, which is a lot of people.
I've heard them say hundreds of millions. Somebody had said.
I know, but I mean, there's only
I know.
300 million.
Yeah, and Biden once said that gun violence killed 300 million people the previous year. So
that's just
we're all dead. This is all not real. We're just, this is.
I don't know that it's not real. I mean.
No, I'm being totally like sarcastic right now.
Okay,
like,
got it.
Come on. But this is you're still stuck in the matrix. You just gotta kind of step out.
Yes, everything is deranged now, and being well adjusted to a society that is deranged makes one deranged.
Yeah.
So it sounds like
failing to be well adjusted to it makes one deranged as well, just from a different point of view.
So are we saying the we'll call it the embargo on Venezuela is due to fentanyl? That's the play is.
That's the play. Yeah, the play is drugs bad, therefore invading Venezuela.
Maduro. Good. Yeah, drugs bad. Maduro needs to go. And we don't
want to inform anybody about the banking system that we can't hold them to. We don't want to inform them about.
No, there's no reason to tell people that. It would just worry them.
Well, you can tell. I mean, you can tell people about it, but here's the thing: is that then.
I saw the vote.
Oftentimes, when you can see the whole picture about what all of this is about, right? And we know because we've all been through the process. We lost Charlie. We know because we've all been through the process, but that when you start going down that rabbit hole as to how big and how complex the problem actually is, it can be very easy to get blackpilled, right?
Well, especially if you got to start thinking and back to the critical thinking. If you're already convinced of something, then some folks just don't want to be convinced otherwise. That they really have to do some thinking about it. And
I think it's because most people can't actually mentally handle the magnitude of what the problem is that we face.
Yeah, with all the rest of life that they got going on.
Right. Well, and people are just, like what were we talking about earlier? Or were we talking about this pre-show where, when you keep putting people in circumstances where they're not challenged or they're not forced to get stronger, then you breed generations of weak people that don't know how to think, don't have the capacity to think, and can't handle it when they're forced to, or they have to confront some sort of large problem like this. They just truly do not have the capacity to be able to manage this.
Trust the experts,
not mentally, huh?
Trust the experts. Trust the science.
Well, that's why they do, is because, we're asking people to educate themselves. We're asking generations of, not everybody, but people who have never been forced to get stronger or be challenged to get stronger, to deal with problems that don't have easy solutions. Those people are never going to be our allies.
Yep, I concur.
I don't think we need them to be our allies.
No, I think that really we need people that can see the big picture and all the problems, but we need to know who that we're talking to enough to know how much of the problem that we need to give them to keep them moving in the right direction and to keep them on our side.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So was it somebody did see that Trump didn't say much tonight? He didn't declare war?
They said it wasn't super interesting, although he did claim, and we heard this like right before we jumped on here. What was it he said? That he avoided 8 wars?
No, he said.
Oh, right when I
settled 8 wars.
He what?
Settled or something like that.
Settled. Avoided, settled. I mean,
pretending that they're all resolved, like they're all tied in with a neat little bow now, as if.
So 8. That's but not Venezuela. He's not interested in fixing that one.
WMDs.
No, we got to fill the gap somehow. Right?
The right loves their wars.
We got to start something.
The right loves their wars. I'm pretty sure that in my mind, for me at this point where I am at life, that I think that's more gross than the left wanting to take our guns. Is that the right just wants perpetual war and destruction?
Is this a good moment to segue into the war on immigrants?
Well, we're already
where we started
almost an hour.
I know we are, but we haven't touched on this topic yet, and it's in our title, so I want to touch on it.
That's where we started at.
Well, I feel like we mentioned it, but we didn't actually like spend any time talking.
No, we didn't spend a lot of time talking about ice and that kind of stuff. No.
Yeah, like the Chanhassen ice raid. This is the thing that I put in the thumbnail. I wanted us to talk about this because this is a particularly interesting one. Like the other day, someone that I know and respect said that they hadn't seen any instances of raids on places of business, only raids on homes. And this is an example of a hybrid where it's a place of business that is also a home, or more particularly, it's a construction site. Where outdoors,
are you talking about the guys that got stuck on the roof?
Yes, that ice trapped on a roof for multiple hours because they wouldn't willingly commit themselves.
In sub-zero temperatures. Sub-zero.
Yes, and this was 3 days ago now, so either the coldest or the day after the coldest day we've had so far.
So what do you mean they trapped them? They took the ladders away?
Yeah, it's
and they didn't even know who the guys were on the roof.
Well, of course not. They're on the roof.
You see there's the one of them being taken to an ambulance to be brought to the hospital for, I don't know if it was frostbite or hypothermia, but you saw it for a moment there. That
was like a boom.
Come on, give me there we go. That forklift bucket type thing, that was the only way to get to or from the roof because there weren't any ladders leaned up against the roof for the majority of the event.
And so the cops weren't letting them drive that thing, or their other guys?
I don't know precisely what the details were, but I know that there were dozens and dozens of bystanders who were heckling the ICE people until the people stranded on the roof were allowed to go to the hospital. And at one point, I watched the video through, and it's just it's a series of clips. It's highlights from a longer stream, I assume. But what I got out of it was that ICE just sort of showed up there without any documentation and just sort of locked the area down and stranded workers who happened to be Mexican looking on the roof. And they just stood around waiting for them to surrender. And at a certain point, protesters were asking them for documentation. Like, do you even have a warrant? Why are you here? And they sort of pulled something out of their behinds, essentially, and pulled up papers that they said were a warrant, but weren't really a warrant.
Well, and so that's my other thing is like it should be verifiable.
Yeah, it should be as simple as here is the documentation
identify
explaining why we need to be here right now. but
Right,
they didn't
they
have
should
that
have to
because it
identify
was-
themselves so they can be held accountable if what they're saying is not true.
Yeah, and also the fact that all of these ICE agents are wearing face masks, so they can't be identified individually. And also, I've been led to believe that the majority of, if not all of the ones that are out on the streets right now, are people who are not Minnesota residents, but have been essentially imported from other states for the purpose of raiding houses and places of business in Minnesota.
Well, yeah, it's a federal agency. I mean, you know,
Yeah, it is a federal agency, but there are people in Minnesota who work for ICE. They're at the office right now. The people who are raiding homes are not Minnesotans.
Right, which is
can
why I'm
I-
saying, like, I don't, whether they're Minnesotans or not doesn't bother me. The fact that they are not identifying who they are.
They're
does bother
feds.
me. Right, but
They're
that's
feds,
my point,
whatever.
is like,
Yeah, but there's
Okay,
a
can I, real quick, can I address something in the comments?
sure.
Okay, because there is with ICE and the, you know, the federal, all that stuff and the raids and all that kind of thing and immigration and all that kind of stuff being in the news right now. You know, the right and the left both have their, you know, their agenda and their positions on it, which is very often black and white. The Libertarian Party does not take a black and white issue on immigration. So Bulgar Wheat from X, I'm actually you want to know,
Yeah, wanted to.
is your position fully free borders? And here's in a pure libertarian world where, you know, arbitrary lines are not enough justification to stop a free people from being able to travel from point A to point B. That's, however, we do have, you know, lines to our country, and we only have authority over our country. And so you'll get a lot of, you know, a lot of variety of positions on immigration in the Libertarian Party, who the Libertarian Party doesn't take a black and white position on immigration. So you're going to get a lot of different answers. And I'm sure that, well, I don't know, we might all in this room kind of go in the same direction when it comes to this.
My stance, for example, is I think that trying to implement border restrictions is a losing fight. And I think that trying to punish people for not following the restrictions that are never being implemented properly is inhumane. I also think that it doesn't make sense for us to try to have an open borders government policy and also have a welfare state government policy at the same time. I don't think that that's sustainable at all.
You can't,
I
you
want
can't
to
have
get rid of the welfare state. I don't think that that is going to happen first. I don't
That to
think
me,
it's likely to happen anytime soon.
that's all it is the supply and demand aspect of whatever, you know what I mean? You have this
People will flood into
supply
our
of
border as long as there is opportunity here. One of those opportunities at the moment is to get free things, and by free I mean paid for by the people who have lived here longer than you and paid taxes.
My part of my position is also just from a, I don't know, a strategic standpoint, is that the United States has made a lot of enemies around the globe, right? We have made a lot of enemies. So it doesn't make, it makes sense to me that the people that do want to come here, there at least needs to be some sort of vetting process. However, I grew up being, I was a missionary's granddaughter, and I spent a lot of time in like just some of the poorest parts of the world, I guess, specifically in Mexico, where we do have a lot of people that come from Mexico to the United States, you know, looking for better jobs, opportunity, not living in just like some hut or trying to get away from, you know, the corruption and, you know, the poverty in Mexico, which I can understand. You want to, they are looking for something that's better than what they currently can get in their own countries. And I don't think somebody should be criminalized for that. Additionally, though, I know that because one of the things that they did as missionaries was to help, because they managed, it was kind of like a group home orphanage kind of a situation. So they would have kids whose parents could not afford to feed them, basically, and that these kids would go and live in this home, and they had, different homes. So it wasn't like just one home. It was it was basically a ranch. And then they had all these churches and everything that helped financially support it. My phone's about to die. So if I bleep off, just know it's not the feds, my FBI agent, it's my phone died. But that getting a green card and becoming a legal citizen of the United States is a arduous process. You have 100%. To have money and means. And, these are when you're talking about people that are coming from you can't even imagine the poverty that exists in some of these other countries, because we have so much in America, and they expect them to be able to successfully navigate a system that's just full of red tape and unnecessary obstacles because of bureaucracy. And so I feel for people that need, that are kind of at this point where they're willing to take the risks because they don't have anything left. And so I think that it's good to balance the, make the legal process more simple while keeping the vetting in place, because we do have a duty to protect our own people here in the United States. On that note, I'm at 2%. I'm about to, my phone's about to die. So I will see you guys later.
I wonder where the line is. Where do you draw the line? And I think
property.
I agree that people should be welcome as long as they're willing to assimilate and work alongside each other in a peaceful manner. Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
That's in the comments too. All right. See you guys later.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to come to the convention, check out the website, lpmn.org. I feel like I just got a whole close-up once Rebecca left.
Yeah. What happened? Wasn't prepared for that. Are we wrapping up? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Thank you for
thanks for participating. Yeah, thanks. What is it? Bulgur wheat?
Yeah.
Or Bulgur?
Bulgur.
But if you, as TJ said, consider joining our party, coming to our convention,
affiliate meetings.
Next time we have one of these, we try to have them once a week. Hopefully we will be able to continue that. Sometimes life gets in the way, but we do our best.
And I'm gonna end mine with a plug for my campaign for state auditor. So I'm running for Minnesota State Auditor as a libertarian. Simple platform of transparency at a very granular level. Find me on kuklinsformn.com or on X as SQL Corman. And
Right on, Charlie. Yeah, we should get a little thing for our websites. I'm also kicking off my campaign.
We'll work on the ticker at the bottom for next time.
All right. Everybody, take care.